everybody. My name is Mike. Welcome to Project C5 Vet. It's a new YouTube series that I'm going to have where I document the journey that I take as far as restoring my 2003 C5 Corvette. A little background on the car: 130,000 miles when I purchased it. It's a base model, not a Z06. I'm the 7th owner. When I purchased the car, I didn't notice too many issues with it other than cosmetic problems. I was just really excited to buy the car. This model of car has always been my dream car. So the car had some issues once I got it back home. I noticed it had an oil leak. It was about a drop or so a day. It wasn't anything too bad. But I didn't know where it was coming from. Since we live in Arizona, and this car has been in Arizona since it was purchased by the first owner, the sun here is pretty damaging. The tires were dry rotted. All the weather stripping on the car is dry rotted or falling apart. The paint is severely oxidized. I've tried correcting it in the year that I've owned it. However, it just goes back to the same dull look no matter how much I try to use any kind of compound or wax it. So eventually it'll need a paint job as well. The car has been involved in an accident somewhere along the line. I know this because the rear passenger quarter panel and the bumper are a different color than the rest of the car, and you'll be able to see that as we walk around it. But the whole reason I'm doing this video is, again, I want to document my journey as I tear this car apart and rebuild it. I have zero experience when it comes to working on vehicles, so a lot of this is going to be a learning experience for me. I decided to do some work on it myself. After I got the Haynes manual, I wanted to change out some of the gaskets and do like a tune-up. So I purchased a bunch of parts and went at it. I'll go ahead and show some of the images of that right now. So yeah, I did a lot of that, put it all back together, and it ran, you know. However, the main reason that I did all that work was to stop the vehicle from leaking oil. But that didn't work out. A couple days after I put the car back together, I noticed there were some drops on the piece of cardboard that I had under the car. So my initial suspicion of the PCV valve being the reason for the leak was either wrong, or that was just part of the problem. I did do some modifications to it when I put it back together. I did the throttle body delete, coolant delete, and I also installed the oil catch can. I'll show you all those here in a little bit. I replaced the interior bezel right after I purchased the car that was all broken and barely hanging on. Like I said, I replaced the tires because they were dry rotted. The original, one of the original owners of the vehicle had painted the rims or plasti dipped them black, covering up the chrome, got rid of the majority of the paint on it, And a lot of the stuff, the reason I procrastinated on a lot of these things is because, again, I have no experience with vehicles, never done anything other than maybe change my own oil, change a tire, stuff like that. I don't really have the tools for it, so I had to build up my inventory of tools before I took it apart. So, and tools aren't cheap, so I had to build up that inventory, and now I actually have enough stuff to do some of this work myself. I still don't have everything, but I will get more along the way. But for the most part, now is the time to do a lot of the engine work. And I've made some friends recently that are a part of this Arizona Corvette community that have made some suggestions and have helped me along the way. Other YouTubers have helped me as far as gaining the confidence to actually do the work myself. So that's why I'm doing this. But the main reason why I'm going to do some more work now is yesterday, after it's my first test drive of the car since putting it back together. Yesterday I got a low oil indicator on the DIC, and I can't, for the life of me, I can't figure out why. I asked some friends and they said, hey, until you find that leak, pretty much don't drive it. So I was already at work, so I went and bought some more oil, just in case I might need it. Checked the dipstick. Dipstick said it was full, but when I tried to start it to see if the low oil indicator was still on, it had a rough start. I don't know why, but it just didn't start properly. So I was like, okay, something's up here. But the low oil indicator came back on, so I was like, okay, maybe I'll add some oil. Maybe I don't have enough in there, which I put 6 quarts in when I did the oil pan replacement and gasket for the Batwing oil pan. But maybe for some reason it needed a 7th quart. So I put another quart of oil in there, went to start it, rough start again. I was like, okay, but it started. And I was like, okay, the low oil indicator light went away, so I went back to work, came out about 4 hours later to start it to go home. Another rough start. Something else flashed up on the thing, on the DIC. I can't remember what it said, but I noticed that the oil pressure numbers were lower than normal. They were reading in the low 30s. So I went ahead and drove it home. About halfway home, they were reading, the oil pressure was reading in the upper 20s, and my check engine light came on. So I immediately, once I got it home, I pulled it in the garage and I parked it. I don't know exactly what's wrong, but I have my suspicions. I had ended up replacing an oil pressure sensor with an aftermarket oil pressure sensor when I did all that work, and I think maybe that's the problem. I have a new oil pressure sensor made by GM coming in the mail, so as soon as I get that, I'll replace that, and hopefully that'll fix this all. But if not, this is the journey. I'll figure it out. But along with that, I had purchased a bunch of other parts that I'd like to document as I go through it. I have some stuff coming in the mail regarding changing out valve springs, head gaskets, you name it. I pretty much bought a bunch of it, weather stripping, just so that I could document it for this channel. So without any further ado, I'll take you around the vehicle. So this is the vehicle. Like I said, it's an 03 C5 Corvette. These are the rims. I'll show you some before pictures of the rims. So the paint is severely oxidized. I don't know if you can tell, but it's pretty dull. And you can see along the edges here, a lot of it's rubbing off or it's going down to the primer. Like I said, a lot of this weather stripping is dry rotted, pulling away. This is all dry and has cracks in it. Like this, the targa top is kind of dry rotted right here. You know, all this is pulling up. You can see right there, that is where the paint is starting to show. And then, like I said, the quarter panel, I think is, this car was in an accident. If you could tell, the paint is different. This is original. This is quarter panel. This is original right here. See how the paint is kind of wearing right here. You know, a lot of it. But yeah, so this is this came off of some other Corvette. This used to be a red Corvette quarter panel. Someone decided to scrape off the emblems off the back here. But it's severely oxidized. More damage to the weather stripping. The interior isn't bad. It's just old. But there's the bezel that I replaced. There's the aftermarket stereo that ruined the bezel with whoever installed it. It's got the heads-up display. Yeah, it's got some damage on the door there. It's being held together with electrical tape. So here's the engine. When I got it, it was severely greased up, dirty, whatever you want to call it. Had so much grease and dirt buildup. It looked like no one had ever cleaned it. I degreased it, cleaned it up when I first bought it, and then did it again about 2 or 3 weeks ago when I took it all apart and replaced everything. A lot of the wires are very brittle in here. It looks like the person didn't really take care of it, or anybody really took care of it. But it looks pretty clean now. So here's the other side, and a little closer look at the oil catch can. I think these tubes that came with the can are not good tubes, because when I started the vehicle, they looked like they were compressed by the suction of the air intake, or the intake manifold. So, and I noticed there was some buildup in there, right in there, of some fluid, which would normally go in the catch can, but it wasn't being able to actually go up in there because of the suction was messed up. So I think I'm gonna have to replace those tubes, and I think maybe that's why the car had a rough start. I'm not sure, but you buy a cheap catch can and you kind of get what you pay for. But yeah, I replaced the spark plugs. So I'll put up pictures of the different things that I've done. The car needs a lot of work. So again, this channel is to document my journey as I work on the car myself. If you like the content I'm putting out, please follow, like, and subscribe down below. And I'll keep trying to put out more content. Like I said, I have a lot of parts coming, a lot of videos, a lot of projects that I'm going to be doing to this car. If you have any comments or suggestions, please feel free to drop them below, and I'll try to get to them as soon as possible. Again, thanks for watching. Subscribe, like, you know what to do.